I'm Emma Redding and I'm the Curriculum Manager for Early Years at Best Practice Network. And this session is designed to give you an overview of our Early Years Apprenticeship. So I'll be going through a bit about the different programmes, how they run, the benefits of the apprenticeships as well. If there's anything specific that you want to get out of the session, then please do pop a question in the Q&A and we'll make sure that we answer those at the end. So to start with, just a bit about what an apprenticeship is. An apprenticeship is a training program that allows learners to earn a wage while they learn, gain that hands-on experience and a recognised qualification. So they're employer-led qualifications, so you get the benefit of apprentices learning through their role and learning how to do things in the way that you want them to learn in the setting, but all with full tutor support. So there's the real benefit of having the apprenticeship tutors one-to-one and the sessions that they provide for learners. So apprentices get a lot of tutor support throughout their programme. Apprenticeship is broken down into different components. So every apprenticeship has a standard, which is made up of knowledge, skills and behaviours that the apprentice needs to demonstrate in their role. There is maths and English requirements for apprenticeships depending on age and previous qualifications that have been achieved. I'll talk a bit more about that as we go through and what those requirements are. Every apprenticeship also has something called off-the-job training, which I will discuss again as we go through later on. And when an apprentice gets to the end of their apprenticeship and has completed all the components, they will have a gateway meeting, which is a meeting with the apprenticeship tutor and the employer and the apprentice to confirm that they are then ready for their endpoint assessment. Endpoint assessment is then carried out by an external assessment organisation, and there's different assessment methods depending on the programme, but there's usually, for example, a professional discussion. Many of our apprenticeships have a observation as part of their endpoint assessment. I'll go through specifically what that is for each apprenticeship within our early years apprenticeships as we go through. So I was just going to talk a bit about what our benefits are for completing an early years apprenticeship. So first of all, for settings in employing an early years apprentice, apprenticeships are up to 100% funded training. So depending on the type of setting you are, apprenticeships will be 95% or up to 100% funded by the government. Sam will go through the specific funding routes at the end of today's session as well, and we'll be able to answer any specific questions on funding, but you've got that real benefit of majority or 100% funded. It helps you to develop confident, capable practitioners to excel in their role. And like I mentioned earlier, it will help you to be able to train your own staff and train them up in the way that you want them, to attract fresh talent into the sector and build a stronger, more skilled team. And helps them to apply all of their learning from the programme directly in the workplace to have that real impact. So you can see the impact of their learning in practice. We will support you to boost your staff retention, motivation and confidence, not only through the apprenticeship programme, but also the additional things that we put in place. So we have our wellbeing and career development programme that can support with that as well, BPN Boost. And you can also access free recruitment support to fill your staffing gaps, which Jess will talk a bit more about later on in today's session. For an apprentice, so if you are an apprentice looking to carry out an early years apprenticeship, the benefits are, first of all, that it will be always completely free for the learner. So there's no fees that you need to pay, no loans. You can earn while you learn, so you earn a wage and get a free programme. You can gain a nationally recognised qualification that meets all of the EYFS requirements. Gives that great opportunity to learn by doing, so having that practical experience from learning on your job, having that real world experience in a childcare setting. You get the expert tutor support and flexible learning, so having it as an apprenticeship programme allows you to have your learning planned around you and your learning needs and your specific learning styles. And all of our tutors are experts in the field, so all of our apprenticeship tutors have worked within early years in education. And it helps you to build your confidence communication, and we support you to progress within your career. We don't just provide teaching towards the apprenticeship, but we have lots of available resources and sessions to support you to develop your within your career and for your well-being as well. And it opens doors to higher education and leadership roles. So on the next slide, I will go through a bit about possible career progression routes, but a lot of what we do is supporting you to understand how to develop within your career. So this is on the screen just our suggested progression routes. So there are many different routes that you could take with our apprenticeships, but if you wanted or an apprentice wanted to take further study, then this is a route that they could take. So obviously the apprenticeships that we're looking at today, we've got level 2 Early Years Practitioner, level 3 Early Years Educator, and level 5 Early Years Lead Practitioner. I'll talk a bit more later on about who these are specifically suitable for. If somebody has completed their Early Years Lead Practitioner level 5 apprenticeship, then they can then go on and complete a top-up degree in early years. We are partnered up with a university at the moment, Nottingham Trent University, that we can advise apprentices they can go off and complete their top-up degree. Apprentices can also apply to other universities. Every university has their different entry requirements to complete a top-up degree, but we are in particular partnered up with one that we can advise you that you can apply for. And then if you wanted to then do early years initial teacher training, then we can support you with that as well. So you could come back to us and complete your early years initial teacher training with us after completing your top-up degree in early years. So that is just a possible route that somebody might take from starting out with their apprenticeship. There are many other things that apprenticeships can support with, but if somebody wanted further study, then this is one of the possible pathways. So I'll now just talk you through a bit about what our delivery plan looks like. So for all of our early years apprenticeships, there's a blended programme of face-to-face and online study. So we have virtual classrooms, which are really engaging interactive sessions that learners take part in. They're group sessions where apprentices can share experience and ideas with each other, whilst also having the expert knowledge from a expert delivery tutor. There's also a mix of independent learning, so learners can complete online learning within there's online learning packages and different resources that we provide, and also a mix of resources and online and face-to-face visits as well with the tutor one-to-one. There are progress reviews every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the learner needs and the programme that they're on. So minimum of every 6 weeks, and that is a review with the apprenticeship tutor, the learner and the employer. Specialist one-to-one tutor support. So as I've mentioned, all of our tutors have previous experience and are very experienced and knowledgeable within early years. We also have BPN Boost, which I mentioned a little bit about earlier, and this is our personal development, career information, advice and guidance and welfare programme. And this consists of different classes. So we'll do online classes. Recent ones we've had have been on employability and interview skills and techniques. We've had mental health and well-being. So we do different online classes that apprentices can engage with. There are also podcasts that we release on different topics to support with career development and well-being, and a range of different resources as well. So that is a real benefit of our programme, that we build in all of that career development and well-being support as well. We encourage regular reflection throughout the programme, lots of reflection on learning and practice. And because apprenticeships are employer-led, so there's that real strong partnership between us as the training provider, the employer and the apprentice, and that is a big part of our apprenticeships. So I'll now talk you through a bit about each apprenticeship programme and what each apprenticeship looks like. So we've got Early Years Practitioner Level 2 is the first one that I'll look at. So this is a 13-month programme with a 3-month endpoint assessment window. This is for a full-time learner. So if a learner is part-time, all of these durations will be extended so that they can meet all of the off-the-job hour requirements. There is functional skills, maths and English level 1 required if the apprentice doesn't already have equivalent qualifications. This is mandatory for 16 to 18-year-olds. So whenever I'm talking about functional skills, it's mandatory for 16 to 18-year-olds who don't have equivalent qualifications, and it's optional for apprentices who are 19 and above. But we would strongly encourage apprentices to complete this because it's their opportunity to get that funded qualification in maths and English. The level 2 early years practitioner has a level 2 diploma at the moment. there is a new version coming without the diploma, which will be coming in September, but at the moment it has a diploma which learners can complete alongside their apprenticeship programme. This apprenticeship is ideal for learners who are new to an earlier setting or are just not quite ready for level 3. So it's ideal for learners that aren't quite sure, a little bit worried about getting into study and not quite ready for level 3. If apprentices or prospective apprentices need any advice on which programme is right for them, we can also advise on what programme is suited for you as well. The apprenticeship programme for level 2 consists of 9 core modules, and we cover the basics of things like child development, health and safety, safeguarding, purposeful play and assessment. And the endpoint assessment methods at the moment are a multiple choice test and a professional discussion underpinned by a portfolio of evidence. There will be some changes to that for starts from September, where the test will be replaced with an observation. At the moment, this is what the endpoint assessment is for level 2. So going on to early years level 3. So Early Years Educator, this is a 15-month programme with a 12-month minimum duration. It's a fully recognised qualification as a level 3, so it supports in meeting the ratio requirements for early years level 3 in an earlier setting. As I mentioned for level 2, functional skills are mandatory for those who are 16 to 18, and for level 3, it's a functional skills level 2 qualification that would need to be taken. We would strongly encourage apprentices who don't have their maths and English to complete the maths and English, even if they are 19 or above, just because the English is required within the EYFS requirements and the maths is required if apprentices do want to go on and be a manager. So we would encourage apprentices to take the opportunity to complete their functional skills. Learners do need to complete paediatric first aid and submit their certificate as part of their apprenticeship. This is not something that is delivered by us as a training provider, but something that we offer reduction in cost for. This apprenticeship consists of 11 modules plus endpoint assessment preparation. So it goes a bit more in depth than the level 2. So still covering a lot of the same topics in safeguarding, health and safety, child development. It goes more into sort of different theories, legal requirements, and goes that bit more in depth than the level 2. And the endpoint assessment methods for this apprenticeship are an observation and questioning session and a professional discussion with a portfolio of evidence. And then the last of the 3 early years programs we offer. So Early Years Lead Practitioner Level 5. So this one is an 18-month program, and it's designed for those in a leadership role in earlier settings. So those taking the Early Years Lead Practitioner apprenticeship should be either in a leadership role or being able to be given significant leadership responsibilities to develop into that role, because they need to be able to demonstrate leadership. Again, functional skills, maths and English level 2 is mandatory for those who are 16 to 18, as with any. And we would strongly recommend, if apprentices don't already have their maths and English, that they complete these, as again, they need the English for ratio and the maths for if they then want to be a manager, which obviously if they're doing this qualification, they may very well want to do. We deliver this programme in cohorts, so apprentices get the benefit of being in the same group throughout their programme and getting to know the different apprentices within their group. And there are at the moment 19 online sessions for this apprenticeship, and it goes into things like leadership practice and theory, implementation of legislation and guidance in the setting, and so on. It is a fully recognised qualification in line with the EYFS as well. So that is the details of the programmes. The endpoint assessment for this one is a bit more in depth. Obviously at level 5, it is quite in depth in that there is an observation and questioning session, a professional discussion, and apprentices also need to do a case study report and presentation as well. But apprentices are given full support for this throughout the programme, so it's something that they will be hopefully very confident with by the time they get to their endpoint assessment. So I was just now going to go over a bit about employer requirements and what is required from an employer supporting an apprentice on programme. So first of all, it is important for employers to attend learner reviews. As I mentioned, these happen every between 4 and 6 weeks, and employers should attend at least part of the learner review. And this is a real great opportunity to support the apprentice programme to review how they're getting on, to review what further support they need, and to identify what further support is needed to help them to succeed. The employer should also allow time for apprentices to attend their monthly virtual classroom sessions, which we have one session per month should be attended. So they're 2-hour sessions. So just to be able to allow and accommodate apprentices to attend those. To provide the apprentice with off-the-job training, which I will go through a bit more detail on the next slide. Provide apprentices with a mentor, so there should be somebody that is allocated to be able to give all of the support and guidance in the setting, and to be able to give that regular support, feedback and guidance to the apprentice to help them to excel in their role. And to also provide apprentices with opportunities to develop their knowledge, skills and behaviours. So there might be things that are in the apprenticeship that the apprentice hasn't had the opportunity to do at the moment, and it's not part of their usual role. So to identify that and to provide apprentices with all the opportunities they need to be able to develop their knowledge, skills and behaviours. So moving on to what is off-the-job training. So I've mentioned off-the-job training a couple of times. This is a apprenticeship requirement, and every apprentice is required to have 6 hours at the moment, 6 hours per week of off-the-job training for a full-time learner or equivalent. This will be 20% of their working hours if they work part-time, or 6 hours for a full-time learner. So this is basically any time that is dedicated to learning new knowledge, skills and behaviours that are relevant to the apprenticeship. It could be things like they are shadowing somebody else in the setting, they are having time out to attend their virtual classroom, they're being given that time for reflection, reading of policies and procedures, working with a mentor, attending training events or training within the setting or external training courses, completing different research. So that could be online research or research within the setting. So there's lots of things that can include. It doesn't all have to be time out of the room. Obviously, it is important that they do get an element of that for their virtual classrooms and to allow them to complete the learning that they need to do. But also a large part of it can be completed within the room as well, but just needs to be making sure that apprentices are gaining new knowledge, skills and behaviours from the activities that they are doing. We can advise as well, and we can give lots of ideas and give lots of examples of what apprentices can be doing, and that's something we do in our online virtual classrooms as well. We give lots of ideas of the different things apprentices can do, and our apprenticeship tutors can give lots of support and ideas as well to employers and to apprentices. So that was everything about our curriculum and our programmes. I was now going to hand over to Jess, and Jess will talk you through the apprenticeship recruitment service.
Thanks, Emma. Brilliant. So here at Best Practice Network, we have if you can just click on a second so the writing comes up. Thank you. A free apprenticeship recruitment service. Now, essentially what that is exactly what it says on the tin. We fill vacancies for our partners and clients that have vacancies that would fit apprenticeships that we deliver. So looking at the apprenticeships Emma has just mentioned, level 2, level 3, level 5, if your setting has a vacancy where you could place an apprentice, we could potentially help. We have lots of learners sat on our system looking for placements. So yeah, we are exactly what it says on the tin. Next page, please, Emma. Thank you. So how do we support settings? So we will do pretty much everything for you. So all we would need from you as a setting would be a little bit about the job, a little bit about the setting, hours, wage, location. From there, we will advertise your vacancy completely free of charge. We find that we use lots of different websites, as mentioned on the screen, find and apply, but we also use the digital apprenticeship service, Indeed, Total Jobs, all the big job boards. So we attract lots and lots of applications. Once the applications come in, we hold initial screening calls. Now, these screening calls will run through eligibility, ensure they're suitable for your setting, ensure they're able to get there, etc., just so that we're not throwing people your way that really aren't suitable. Once the screening's gone through, we shortlist. Once we shortlist, we send the CVs across to you. You would then go and interview them. if successful, they would then, once they've started employment with you, they would commence training with us here at Best Practice. Thanks, Emma. Next page. Thank you. How do we support the apprentices during that time? So the screening call, that initial screening call, we go through so much information with them. Depending on which apprenticeship they've applied for, we will go through it in lots of detail. We don't hide anything. We really make sure they understand what they are applying for. We also then run through the sector. We do get a couple of applicants that do think that maybe early years is an easy option, but we just ensure that they understand the challenges that they might face during a role in early years. Once we've had that screening call, like I say, and so from a candidate's perspective, we then check our current vacancies, discuss suitable options, again, ensuring that they can get to places, which is key, especially if we're talking to 16 to 18-year-olds that may not have that driving license yet. Just making sure that they're not relying on parents or carers to get them there, because we know that that won't be suitable long term. If we are unable to place them into a setting right there and then, we offer support on how they can go and find settings and vacancies in their local areas that we can then go in and support afterwards. We provide them with a pack on how to do this, and we're here for any questions they might have. And then we share CVs with settings that match their needs. Once matched, candidates are offered an interview, and this is completely down to the setting. So we can arrange the interview, etc., but you as a setting or the setting that you have applied for will conduct the interview. It's normally a one-stage interview, so it might be that you do, I don't know, a half-an-hour interview with a small stay and play. Other times, settings might request that you come back and do a couple of hours stay and play or a work trial. That's not unusual, and actually it's really good experience, especially if you've not worked in the sector before. Again, if the placement isn't offered, if for whatever reason unsuccessful at interview, we do continue to search for employers. It might not take as quickly as if you applied directly for a vacancy, but you are constantly on our books and we are consistently looking for work for you. If you do have any questions on that, please do get in touch. That's our email address there at the bottom.
Fantastic. I think this is me. Right. So my name is Sam. I'm here to quickly run through, well, hopefully quickly run through everything about funding for apprenticeships. It can be a bit of a tricky beast. These funding rules are set out by the government, and as with everything designed by the government, it's incredibly complicated. I will say, don't panic if you're not remembering all of this or if you're frantically taking notes. We have a team here, the funding team, whose job it is to basically run through all of this with you when we get an application through. So the first thing we do is we'll give you a call and make sure that you understand all of this and exactly how much it's going to cost, if it is even going to cost anything at all. So the very good news with apprenticeship funding is it will be at least 95% funded by the government. So those numbers on the left there, £4,000, £7,000, £8,000. It looks daunting. It looks like a lot of money, and we understand early year settings haven't exactly got blinding profit margins. Don't panic. You're not paying that much money. So the maximum employer contribution would be £400. That's the 5% cost of an early years lead practitioner level 5. So that is through what we call government co-funding. So if you're co-funding through the government for an early years practitioner level 2, you'd only be paying 5% of the £4,000, which is only £200. For the level 3, 5%, again, that's only £350. To make that even cheaper, that cost is spread among the duration of the apprenticeship. So on a month-to-month basis, you're only looking at about £20 a month. Obviously, all of that is to make it as cheap as possible, but it can get even cheaper in particular situations. So if you pay into the apprenticeship levy, so if you're a particularly large setting or a setting that works through a local council, if you're a maintained council school, in that case, either you or the council or your trust or whoever you work with would pay into the apprenticeship levy. In that instance, it is completely free. So it will all come out of the levy pot. That means there'll be no cost to you, the employer. There'll be no cost to anyone other than the funds which are already set aside in that levy pot. So very good news in that situation. If you're unfortunately not paying into the apprenticeship levy or not with a large employer, don't panic if you can't pay the 5% still. What we can do is we can do what's called an apprenticeship levy transfer. So in those instances, you would liaise with a larger company that can't spend all of its apprenticeship levy. So one of our biggest ones that we work with, Transport for London, we've got about £500,000 that they can't spend for apprentices. They can't spend that money anywhere else. It's been specifically set aside as an apprenticeship fund by the government. So if they don't spend that on apprenticeships, they just lose that money. It goes back to the government and it's used for potholes or something. I don't know where it goes. But what you can do is you can just apply through the Digital Apprenticeship Service for a levy transfer. You can tell whichever company you'd like that you're hiring for an early years educator, say. You can get £7,000 transferred to your Digital Apprenticeship Service account and then raise a cohort, and that funding will be, again, basically free. It is a little bit more complicated and it is a little bit more time specific. So it can be a little bit tricky to work out. But if you're in no rush, if you're happy to wait the extra couple of weeks to get that funding through, it's a very, very good way to get it fully funded. The only thing I will say that 5% maximum employer contribution doesn't include VAT, unfortunately. And also any potential resit costs would be liable by the employer. That doesn't usually come up. I actually have checked the statistics on this. We had a less than 1% resit rate across all of our apprenticeships over the last 4 years with BPN. So we don't expect that to happen at all, but just worth knowing anyway. Additionally, you can see that big box at the bottom. If your setting has got fewer than 50 employees, you can get fully funded for young apprentices. So under the age of 21, it should be fully funded regardless. Additionally, if they're under the age of 24 with an education, health and care plan, or if they were at any point in their childhood under the care of a local authority, they can get it fully funded entirely without having to bother with a levy transfer. Additionally, if you start your apprenticeship before the age of 19, your employer can get an additional £1,000 from the government. It is stipulated in the apprenticeship funding rules that that £1,000 should be spent on provisions for the apprenticeship to help them through that apprenticeship. So that's stuff like extra resources, books, training, days to really engage with the apprenticeship. But we don't see where that money goes. So if you want to use it for the apprenticeship's wages, you can. That is technically fine. And that is what we find most people do anyway. Hopefully that was a whistle-stop tour of all the apprenticeship funding. So hopefully that's all gone in. If not, don't worry, don't panic. As I've said, we have got a team that can run through all of that with you. If you do have any questions as well, there is a Q&A, which I think we're going to be going through in a bit. So if you need any specifics with funding, absolutely open up that Q&A, type it in there, and we'll go through that in just a second. Fantastic. I think that's all I've got right now. But yeah, any questions we'll get through in just a bit. I think I'm passing back to Sarah.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much, Sam. Thanks everyone. That was brilliant. Loads of information there. And just to say that we will be sending the slides around to everyone who registered for this webinar. So don't worry, you will be getting all this information as well as Sam said. If you have any questions, you can reach out to the team. They'd be really happy to help. Yeah, as Sam mentioned there as well, if you have any questions now, find the Q&A button. If it's not showing on your screen, there's the ... the more option. So try that and then choose Q&A. That should come up. I'll just mention how to apply. So as it says on the screen, it's really easy. You just need to follow the link, go to our website, and you apply online there or scan the QR code there. And if you're wishing to start your apprenticeship this summer, the deadline is Sunday, July 6th. Also, Emma, if you don't mind putting us over to the next slide, I just wanted to mention if this is something you're really interested in, we have a couple of taster sessions coming up. So you can come along to these. We have one for level 2 and level 3 and one for level 5. You can come along and meet one of our tutors and get some free learning. So for the level 2 and level 3, we're looking at child development. And for level 5, we're going to be looking at enabling exciting environments in your setting. So you can come along to see for yourself, get a real feel for what it would be like to do an apprenticeship with us. So yeah, hope you can make it along to those, and please do pass it on to anyone in your setting or anyone you know that may be interested. Right, so I think we'll go to the Q&A now. And I think we have our first question, so we'll go straight to that. So somebody's asking, I am not entitled to funding. What should I do to gain access to the training? Sam, can you help with that one?
That is a very interesting question. There are a couple of situations where specific apprentices wouldn't be eligible for funding. The few that I can think of off the top of my head is if you've not been ordinarily resident in the UK for the last 3 years. So the apprenticeship fund through the government is specifically for people who have been in the UK for the last 3 years. Ordinarily resident has a couple of loopholes in it. So if you're married to someone who's been ordinarily resident for the last 3 years, that counts, even if you haven't been in the UK for the last 3 years. Same goes for direct family relations as well. Also, there's a special Ukraine fund. So if you're a Ukraine citizen fleeing the war, you can get apprenticeships through that way, bypassing that. There's also certain situations which would make you ineligible with potential voluntary aided schools. So if you don't have a unique PAYE number for the company, for the employer, for the setting, you would not be able to then create a digital apprenticeship service account. In that instance, the best thing to do is to contact your local authority, or if you're a religious school, to contact, if you're with a diocese, they may be able to help as well, and you may be able to use their apprenticeship service account to claim funding. If none of those situations so far have helped, what I would say is shoot us over an email to apprenticeships@bestpracticenet.co.uk. Put in the byline that it's apprenticeship funding request or apprenticeship funding query, and that'll come through to us. We'll send it through to the funding team, and we'll be able to give you more specific details. Hopefully that helps.
Wow, yeah, very thorough. Thank you, Sam. Right, so somebody is asking, it's saying, haven't studied for a while, wondering what support is available. So Emma, I don't know if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'll take that one. So if you haven't studied for a while and are looking to do an apprenticeship, then please don't worry about jumping in, because there's lots of support available, first of all. So the benefit of having the apprenticeship is that it can be individualized, and you've got that one-to-one tutor that can support you every step of the way, compared to obviously if you're in a larger class, you don't get necessarily that same one-to-one support. We give lots of support on things like study skills at the beginning of the programme, and have additional sessions to support with things like that. And we also can individualise your learning, so we can adapt if you, for example, prefer doing more discussion than written tasks. We don't have a requirement for most of our programmes for a lot of written work, because the main purpose is to get you to develop your knowledge, skills and behaviours to achieve your endpoint assessment and to succeed in achieving the highest grade that you can. So we don't have necessarily lots of written tasks, especially for level 2 and 3. We don't have a lot of written tasks. We can individualise and do nearly everything by discussions and looking at different practical work products and things that are in your setting. There is a bit more written work for level 5, because there is an endpoint assessment which has a written case study, so we need to prepare you for that. But we will basically individualise all of our methods of learning to help give you the support that you need.
Great, thanks, Emma. Somebody is asking here, can you run through again what you need to be eligible to apply? I don't know if Sam, would you want to do that one, or?
Apologies, sorry, I missed that question. I was just typing a question answer.
Could you run through again what you need to be eligible?
So to be eligible to apply, yeah. So from a funding standpoint, it is just ordinarily resident in the last 3 years is a big one. You can check online the exact definition of that. I won't run through that again. And then unless you want to go through recruitment, to be employed with an early years setting is very, very handy. And then it's just specifics of the job description. So in order to be eligible for the apprenticeship, you need to be doing work which is relevant to that apprenticeship to be eligible. So we do occasionally get people who apply, they're working in an early years setting, but they're a midday supervisor or a cleaner or a dinner lady. We appreciate the enthusiasm, but obviously you need to be doing specific work for that apprenticeship to be eligible.
Thanks, Sam. Right, somebody here is saying, how much does it cost to the apprentice? I think we've
I can answer that
covered
one as
bit.
well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely nothing. Technically, it is illegal for the employer or us to ask the apprentice to pay for absolutely any part of this apprenticeship whatsoever. My supervisor, our head of apprenticeship operations, absolutely delights whenever that does happen, because it means she gets to put on her scary hat and threaten legal action and get the apprentice their money back. But yeah, so for the apprentice, it is absolutely free. On that as well, there's no additional costs if you don't complete the apprenticeship, if you stop halfway through, if you get 6 months in and you decide you want to be a firefighter instead or whatever. Absolutely no extra costs whatsoever if you just want to put a stop in place and pick it up again next year.
Great, thank you, Sam. Okay, somebody asking here, I'd like to know what level I can apply for, as I have a BSc in psychology and an MA in early childhood and education. Do I need to start from the level 2 apprenticeship? Emma, that one for you.
Yeah. So you don't need to go through them all in order. So it's all down to what is right for the right individual. So somebody can go straight on to level 3 without doing level 2, for example. In very rare cases, somebody can go straight on to level 5 without doing level 3. We wouldn't normally recommend that. That would be for very rare cases where they're experienced and they've had issues with their qualification being no longer full and relevant, for example. We would typically always want somebody doing the level 3 before level 5, but it's all case by case. So we make sure we help you to find the right program for you. We would need to delve into your previous qualification that you've done and just make sure that you don't have significant prior knowledge that exempts from KSBs. We'd need to just check your eligibility because you've got that prior qualification. So that's something we can definitely advise you on if you've got prior qualifications. But no, nobody needs to, if they're suitable for level 3, for example, they can go straight on to level 3 without level 2. It's all about getting the right program for you.
Great, thanks, Emma. One for you, Jess. Somebody's asking, how long does it take to find a placement? I guess that's a hard one to answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Every placement's completely different. It depends on how long it takes for the employer to get back to us, what that interview stage will look like, and whether we've actually got vacancies in the local area. It can take a couple of weeks. It could also take a couple of months. It's completely dependent on the situation.
Thanks, Jess. Someone asking, can I apply for the level 2 early years with my level 1 diploma in health and social care? Again, for you, Emma.
Yeah, so that's fine as long as you meet the eligibility requirements, then that sounds like that shouldn't be a problem. I think the level 1 diploma in health and social care, that there is a lot of transferable skills that will hopefully help with an ideal stepping stone to then get onto the level 2.
Great, thank you. Somebody asking, saying they have an employee with like additional learning needs. I'm wondering if there's support available for that. Is that something you can answer, Emma?
Yeah, so we have lots of additional support available for those with additional learning support needs. We have a Senko that supports in overseeing support. At the beginning of the programme, we would discuss the apprentice needs with you and your employee, and we basically identify what the support is that's needed, and we have obviously a lot of support our end to make sure that apprentices are given the exact support that they need. So there is a lot of support available for that.
Thank you. Someone's saying, I have done a master's in English and bachelor in education and a 6 months volunteering experience, looking for a TA apprenticeship in primary. Obviously, we're talking about early years today, but I don't know if you could help a little bit with that, Emma, just to mention TA options.
Yeah, so well, for teaching assistants, so we do have different marketing events as well that go ahead for teaching assistant and specialist teaching assistants. So you can keep an eye out for any upcoming events for those. But for the teaching assistant apprenticeships, we have level 3 teaching assistant, and we also have specialist teaching assistant level 5, which is for those that are working in a specialist role, and there's 3 different specialisms within that. In terms of eligibility, you'd need to contact us so that we could discuss that further. If you've got questions on specific eligibility requirements, we can support you in looking a bit more into that.
Great, thanks, Emma. I'll pop a link in the Q&A as well to that person asking that question, so you can go and sign up for the TA webinar. I think there's one coming up quite soon. So yeah, I'll do that in a second. I think that's all the questions that we have, unless anybody else has one they want to pop in the Q&A box for us. But yeah, as I said earlier, all the slides from today, I will email out to all the registrants and everyone who's attended today, so you can have a look at those again, as well as a recording of the session today, and it will have our contact details, how to apply, if you have any further questions, and also details of the taster sessions, so that you can come along to one of those and find out for yourself what it would be like to do an apprenticeship with us. But yeah, if there's no more questions, I think we'll probably wrap it up there. So thank you everyone for today. Thank you everyone for joining us. Oh, people are raising their hands, so maybe there are more questions coming through. I don't think we can put audio on the session today, so I think you need to type your question into the Q&A box. So hopefully you can find that on the bottom of your screen and pop your question in. Oh, somebody asking, can you please send any job vacancies for primary TA? So yeah, I'll take your details and I'll pass that to one of my colleagues, and we'll send you some more information on that one. That's fine. Any further questions? If anyone else that was raising their hand, if you want to type your question in the Q&A box. Just wait awkwardly while that happens. Right, we have one. I've started a level 3 before, but dropped out due to extenuating circumstances. Will my existing assignments still be useful? Is that one for you, Emma?
Yeah, so you might find them useful in using them to support your own knowledge and refresh on your knowledge, and you may be able to use some of those for your program, but I would recommend what you do, because we want to make sure you've got the knowledge and skills and behaviors that you need. You may use them for your own kind of knowledge and kind of brushing up, and maybe do, for example, a professional discussion or something with your tutor on your knowledge, so that they can actually see that knowledge rather than just accepting the old piece of work. So it would likely be that you'd use them more as kind of to support you, rather than to use to submit as an assignment as such, but definitely would still be useful.
On mute, sorry. Thank you, Emma. I'm not seeing any more, so we'll just leave it a little bit more time in case anybody else has any further questions. No? Okay. I think we'll leave it there then. I think that's everything. But thank you everyone for your time today. Look out in your inboxes for the slides and the recording, as well as details of how to get in touch. And we really hope to see you on the taster sessions coming up soon, and hopefully joining us as an apprentice as well. Have a good rest of the day. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.